What happens when you combine social commerce with global travel to completely disrupt how an entire generation experiences the world? Welcome back to Vicsmanor, where we have great conversations with great people. Today I'm sitting down with Charles Shima, the visionary founder of Tourifique, a video-first platform reshaping how Gen Z and Millennials discover destinations. Moving from Rwanda to Canada, Charles brings a powerful global lens to travel, prioritizing authentic cultural storytelling over generic sightseeing. Before disrupting travel tech, he was a government financial analyst. Now, his mission to humanize travel has landed him in Forbes Africa, Skift, and CBC, making him a premier voice on cultural innovation. Get ready for an absolute masterclass. Let's welcome to the show, Charles Shima.
So, welcome back, Charles. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Good to see you once again. So, I wanted to ask, what first sparked your interest in travel and storytelling? Was there a specific trip or moment that changed your perspective on travel?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me take you back to where I was born in Kinshasa. So, Democratic Republic of Congo, which back then was really a hub for travelers from all over the world. And myself, I remember growing up, I was surrounded by people who came from Europe and you name it. So I would say that's where it started, not to mention because I was not born in my parents' country of birth. Essentially, I was born a traveler to soften the world.
Great. Looking back, did you always see travel as a career opportunity or did that evolve over time?
It evolved because when people ask me, so what did you learn in school? I was a finance. My father he was an accountant, and you always hear that my father, he's the one person who has inspired in so many ways. And so growing up and seeing how his job was very rewarding, I said, well, I will be an accountant. So I worked as a financial analyst for many years. Though I always knew that I will one day become an entrepreneur. I mean, my father was one, but for a while, I did the 9-to-5 job in corporate Canada, and so, but knowing that one day I will start my own business, but I didn't know yet what it will be and how it will come about.
Great. Having roots in Rwanda and having the opportunity to travel the world, how has that global perspective shaped the way you think about African travel, especially East Africa?
Yeah, that in fact, I was watching a clip right now from one of my favorite person in Africa, Gusi Tembakwayo, and saying how when he has to go from South Africa to Nigeria, he has to go through 2 other countries because the connectivity on the continent of Africa is still an issue, not to mention the visa that you have to get. And so now, in my case, I'm privileged because I travel on a Canadian passport. You see, now I believe within the continent they are trying. We are seeing countries like Rwanda, right, that have essentially been one of the first to have visa-free for many people in Africa, including yourself. You were in Rwanda, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so,
beautiful place.
Yes, beautiful. More has to be done. Now, I haven't not traveled much in Africa since 1997. I am looking forward to it, mostly because, well, the connectivity and the price. We can talk about that, right? Because when you look at the cost of going from Rwanda to Burundi, it's like 600 for like a 30 minutes flight. You go like, what?
Crazy.
Indeed.
It's crazy. When people think about traveling in East Africa, what do you think they often misunderstand or overlook?
I mean, I've been a champion of really seeing Africa in a different light. The continent of Africa. I always stress that East Africa. Thank you. You've mentioned that East Africa. You are meaning, Rwanda, Uganda, DRC, some of it anyway. Kenya, right? And South Sudan, I believe, right? I think those are the East African bloc countries.
Yeah.
So, well, since we have Kenya in there, we have Kenya in there. So there is all this misconception about safari being the only thing you can do in those parts of the world, right?
Okay.
And also keep in mind that what you see in Rwanda is not the same what you see in Uganda or what you see in Tanzania. I mean, these are our countries that are each rich in so many things to see. And so I've been a champion of saying Africa is more, the continent of Africa is more than safari, specifically in Kenya. And I was privileged that in 2023, when the first World Summit for Travel, WTT, was held in Rwanda, even then Kenya was actually thinking about, how can they market their tourism above and beyond safari, Myself, having spent a year or so in Kenya, what really drew me to the place was, for example, their culinary. They're very known for nyama choma, right? The grilled meat.
Yeah.
There is a lot of culture when you look at the history in Kenya. So those are the things that I've been really trying hard to push.
I was about to ask, what experiences do visitors usually find most surprising once they arrive?
Well, I mean, if you talk about Rwanda, for example, right? I always say, well, you can come for the gorilla, and that's fine. We want you to come in the century, yes, and see that, right? Especially that Rwanda has done really, really well with that. Now, you can also see swimming cows. You can also see the culinary and the city. One thing that is very consistent all across in many tourism on the continent of Africa, and then including in East Africa. Let's talk about Tanzania. When I had Tanzania, well, before I did the pivot on Tourifique, I mean, Tanzania has a previous leader that the partner that I had with, they don't just do the Serengeti. They only had Serengeti stuff. And Zanzibar, I'm like, okay, how about Dar es Salaam? It's a beautiful city. So you will see that we don't have a lot of tours that focus on the city tour, just like you will find in Paris or you find in Tokyo, right? Things to do, walking tour within those places. We need more of that. Like, why are we not proud of our cities or even our small towns that we should do city walks? It shouldn't just be in and out. I come in, I go do my safari, and then I'm out. We want to stay there. So I'm hopeful that that's changing, because with the Gen Zs and the Millennials, and especially we are seeing a movement of Black Americans who are making Kenya or Tanzania or some places in home, or even Nigerians, their home. So, right, something's changing. However, more has to be done to change traditional thinking of tourism in Africa, because I still believe the way tourism is built on the continent of Africa, or in East Africa specifically, it's from a European mindset. Like, ooh, this place, wow. And as we're like, wow, it's no longer, ooh, this place, right? You look at Kigali, even here when I was in Albania, and people were thinking Rwanda is still 1994. And I'm like, no, we've moved on. And I showed them some of the pictures and the images, like, oh, is that in Kigali? You have like all these beautiful restaurants and coffee shop. I'm like, yeah. Why is that surprising to you?
What are some of the biggest challenges travelers face when traveling to explore East African destinations today, like logistically, culturally, or digitally?
Well, if you think about the distance to go from, let's say, Rwanda to Nairobi, Kigali to Nairobi, or Uganda, vice versa, it should not just be covered by plane, right? I mean, we need to have a train or something. We need to have some train. I mean, they have buses. I think you can travel from Kigali 24 hours, but we need to really see investments done in in trains, just like they've done it in Japan. You know, Japan, they have those fast trains, the Shinkansen. They call the Euro. What's it called?
The
Euro
fast
something.
trains.
Right. Like, why don't we, right, to just facilitate not the movement of travelers, but also the local population? Because we have to look at local travel now, right? It's becoming more of a common thing. And now, when it comes to connectivity, like I mentioned earlier, if someone is going from Nigeria, Lagos, to Kenya, I mean, I think because of Ethiopian Airlines is one of the main carrier. Rwanda is also doing really well. Now you find that the connectivity can be a challenge. Like you have to transit from another place, even if it's like a 2 to 3 hour flight. So,
what practical advice would you give travelers planning a trip to the region?
well, two things. If you are a traveler in the global African diaspora, if you are, in Europe, in North America, where I am from, Vancouver, big shout out, make it intentional to go to the country in Africa. I mean, be intentional. It makes sense. Like I've done. I'm not just talking about, hey, Charles is just saying this. But for a long time, I traveled mostly to Hawaii and Tokyo, you name it. But I made it intentional for the past 5 years. I've only traveled to the continent of Africa, in this case, in Rwanda, right? So we have to be intentional. Second, for all our friends, is that, right, just go. Because data shows that there's over 700 million travelers, and this is 2-year-old data, by the way, that do not consider destination, let's say in East Africa, as a place to go. And as we record this, there is this Ebola situation going on that is all over the place. But this is not just everywhere. It's some places, because if you look in Kigali, life goes on. So don't just listen to the news. And sometimes they make it so negative and weird, right? I am in Europe, in Skopje, Macedonia, and Ukraine is not that far from here, where unfortunately they've had a war. But you know what I mean? Like, do not make a situation, a problem in one place about the whole continent or the whole region. And please go. If you haven't, please go. You will be surprised. You have a good time. You will discover, old and beautiful places, and the culture and the music and the hospitality. What are you waiting for?
Okay. From the local side, what challenges do small tour operators, guides, and hospitality businesses in East Africa struggle with the most? How difficult is it for the small operators to compete with larger international brands?
There are a number of issues because I've worked with them on a day-to-day, but one is visibility and the understanding how to use digitization, right? Social platform. And in order to gain their clients, but not just from time to time, but regularly, right? Business, you need to have your sales funnel. And when they do, and that's the problem I tried to solve, which didn't quite go the way I wanted, is to have a marketplace built with the continent of Africa with us in mind. That was an HESA. Because if you look at the current situation, they rely on marketplace such as Viator, Get You Guide, to a radar, but those are not really built with us in mind. I attended last year in Rwanda, and one person said, if the technology is not built by us, it's not for us, right? It makes a difference. Even now, as I build Tourifique, even though it's not focusing on the continent first, we will come back to it because I understood that there is a level of funding and there's a level of marketing you need to achieve that.
I was about to ask, are there funding or technology gaps that need more attention?
Yes, especially everything goes to funding because unfortunately, if you look at the tourism, you see the world of tourism itself, like me, if I have innovation, it cannot go anywhere if I don't have the support of the government or the tourism, because if their mission is to continue with safari, for example, and then I come in and they say culture, well, I'm going against what they're marketing in a way, even though they may say, okay, we see value in here, but not yet, or and so on. Or I say, well, there are many cultural sites that have to be developed, for example. And so, I mean, example is Nigeria, beautiful country, but go look at their tourism website. I did it when I went to look at every country on the corner of Africa, trying to find a tourism website. There's probably maybe 5 that have like a working tourism website. Rwanda, South Africa, Kenya, Morocco, of course. Morocco, because they're the biggest. You can add in Egypt, then you're going up north. But in other places, it needs work. It needs work.
Great. What support systems would have the biggest impact on local tourism entrepreneurs?
Well, I think has to be ingrained in us is that at the end of the day, especially looking at the situation of the world in the past 5 years, local tourism has to be ingrained in us, really. I mentioned earlier that the global African diaspora, however, within our region, we have to make it a point, like, why do we go to Dubai? The wealthiest the world to do Africans, they go to Dubai. Travel within your own country, your own region, make it a point. Just do that. I think at the end of the day, to address that funding, to give those local tour operator a way of survival, not just when it's the high season or when they have to wait for European travelers or North American travelers, which is nice. It's nice. We need that. But we need to make it a point that we also visit our own backyard. It kind of started during the pandemic, visit your backyard, but I don't know where it died, right? And sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to travel. Let's say if I am somewhere, anywhere really in East Africa, then some of us may say, oh, we go to Europe. Well, what if we, or you think regionally? However, there are those other challenges that maybe makes it more attractive to go to Dubai. One is like, okay, why am I going to spend 600 to go to Kenya from Kigali when I can spend less and go to Dubai, for example?
Exactly. How do you think the technology and social media can help bridge the gap between travelers and authentic local experiences in the region?
Speaking about that, AI is definitely one tool that we have to embrace. It's up until now, we don't have an AI built for the continent, right? I think if you look at different places like China have their own DeepSeek, you name it. That being said, let's go for AI, because when you search AI, AI gets data from different places. But if we do not create content on social media, you name it, like me, if you Google Charles Shima, you will find information, because I made it a point to create content on LinkedIn, on TikTok, where I am on Instagram. So we have to be intentional. Again, I'm going to use that word, we on the African continent, because our story for many, many, many years have been told and continue to be told by others. That's why I'm a chief storyteller at Tourifique, not just a CEO. Now we have the ability to just grab a phone, any kid, anywhere on the continent in East Africa, they can really tell their story. So rather than use your phone to do je ne sais quoi, tell us about your city, tell us about your town. All this negative narrative of the continent of Africa can be changed with creating our own content, good content, of course. And in doing so, then when they pull data for AI, then you see it's all going to be in there. Because right now, if you search travel to the continent of Africa, you will see mostly safari, wildlife. You should see the poster I created for this summer travel to Rwanda. It's a beautiful hotel. And everybody was like, wow, we never saw a poster like that. And it should not be an exception. This is the norm now. creating content, and that's how with Tourifique, we're going to have like travelpreneurs. We're going to make it for travel creators to have stores where they can showcase different tours, attraction, and the activities. And the continent of Africa needs more of videos than images, static images, because videos, when you see something and then you add a sound and then you speak, it adds more power to it, right? So start creating content.
Start creating content. Start creating content. So, Charles, safety, trust, and accessibility are big concerns for many travelers. How can platforms like yours help improve confidence in traveling within East Africa?
Absolutely. The one thing that I've been focusing on for the past 5 years, almost 6 years now, because I live in North America, is raising awareness, educating the travelers about traveling to the continent in East Africa, Rwanda specifically, where I'm from, because you realize that there's our fears and all those things. And that essentially can cascade into governments, let's say North America, thinking of easing the connectivity. And I remember there was this memorandum that was signed between the government of Canada and Rwanda, where they were going to think about connecting both cities with Air Canada, right? Airlines.
Yeah.
So as an advocate, we play a bigger role, right? Because we are the bridge. We are the bridge. And when a decision like that is made, even if it's North America to Africa, perhaps there is an incentive to look at the economic of the situation. And if you look at where funding to that level, or the biggest airlines, they are primarily outside of the continent. And so I am looking forward to seeing those ideas like that memorandum put in action, which, by the way, I made it a point to follow up with the government of Canada. So in the moment, any chance I had, I even visited our capital nation. I had a meeting with the Minister of Economic at that time, in charge of that, to kind of remind him that, hey, this was signed. What's going to happen there? I mean, more has to be done, but also we people, like I said, I think any change that is going to be tangible has to come from grassroots. So that means anyone watching this is your problem as well. We can't just wait for the government or sort of organizations. We also have the power to be the voice, but to also start traveling to show that there is demand and that we want to do it. If we show that makes sense, right? If there's a demand for it. But in my case, as my platform, Tourifique, beyond that is to build a platform that, even though right now we may not focus on the corner of Africa, but that may change, we will always have that idea how we can solve it once we achieve funding, because that's been one of the biggest problems we have faced. And also so seeing that the diaspora themselves to partake in this, I have to say that, right? Because we spend billions of dollars, and then I keep saying, well, maybe some of those billions of dollars we send, I think 6 billion, I think last numbers overall. What if we can just take some of that and invest it into our startup like Tourifique that can solve every issue we've mentioned here with tourism and travel, knowing that tourism and travel creates jobs at the end of the day.
Great. If you had the power to redesign the travel experience across East Africa from scratch, what would you change first?
Wow.
What would be your top 3 priorities?
Yes. I will put city tours first. City tours. I will do that. We have to design those. History. Our history is not always put at the forefront in a way that it does dignified our forefathers. And third, the experiences also will show the cool things we have, right? Yeah, I remember when I went to Kenya is where I went to an attraction park for, and we had that water where you glide down the water. That was in Kenya. It was so cool, right? Like you don't have to go anywhere else. You can do it somewhere in the corner of Africa, right? So we will have to really redesign and not just make everything about safari or the wildlife. East Africa, I mean, yeah.
How important is the regional collaboration in creating a seamless travel experience?
Yeah, well, it is, because if you think about East Africa, specifically, let's say in Rwanda, even now, Kigali and Rwanda per se, it's a beautiful place to visit the country. So someone who is coming, who is spending thousands of dollars to land anywhere really, they can't just visit Rwanda. So you can come to Rwanda and maybe want to go to Zanzibar, right? Create a corridor, make it easier and faster and affordable for someone to come into Rwanda, enjoy what Rwanda has to offer, and then continue their way, maybe go to Zanzibar or go to Dar es Salaam, go to Nairobi or any of those other cities, and really have an experience that touches many of those countries that I hear, like even Uganda in Kampala, each has its own flavor, right? Then you get that flavor, that East Africa flavor, the richness of it.
Great. What role do you believe storytelling plays in changing stereotypes and narrative around African destinations?
It takes away the fear of all these stories that have been told about us, which are not always true. Just because even when I travel where I am right now in Albania and where I am, sometimes people you hear, they have all this misconception about who I am, but it's like I've already been judged before you even meet me. And I've always made it a point. It's like, I was not raised in a mud hut. There's nothing wrong with it, but my life was from an early age wasn't any different. That this is my view to, at least in my case, this is my story. To have their own story. So someone born in North America, right? And so definitely we're even seeing it now with the case in Ebola, which is kind of an unfortunate situation. It's so we get to tell the story, we get to educate people about who we truly are, and especially this mindset that I keep fighting when you come to the continent, when you come to East Africa. I made a video that went viral. There was someone who came and then was feeding our people in South Sudan chocolates. Okay. Now, do you see me, Charles Shima, 28 years in Canada, going to a town and feeding people that are, be it chocolate or bread? Like, even that traveler will not dare do that in their own country. There's a lot of laws that are being broken there, right? People can have an allergy to chocolates, right? So that traveling to come and save us, don't do that. And we have to also be proponent of not allowing it. And the way we do that is really by saying no, thank you, and by telling the story like I've done. Everything I say here, I do it. It may sound to some that, well, maybe Charles has lost his mind. But really, I must say the problem is us. I'm not going to blame anyone else. I'm not going to say it's colonialism. I'm not going to say that time came and went. I'm not going to say it's white between black. I'm not going to say that. the problem is, as people of African descent, if we don't tell our story, if we're not proud of who we are. Like, I was having dinner here in Macedonia, in Skopje, and they gave me a plate of beans in one of their beautiful restaurants. Beautiful beans. I'm like, right, I was in Kigali. I don't think I could go to a restaurant and have beans like this, right? Just beans. And so everything has to have to start with us, and we need to be proud of our culture, our food. It's just us. It's us that have to be us. I mean, people from the continent of Africa, just like I do.
What responsibility do travel creators and media platforms have when telling African stories?
Ooh, they have a key role in this. First, do not perpetuate the stereotypes. Do not be creative. Be creative and do so unapologetically, and create content. There's so much that is unseen, uncovered. Go to a market and show us what's going on in the market. Why are you skipping this? Why just showing us all this beautiful hotel? Like, I'm always curious, just like I do it. What is the day-to-day? What's going on? We can point the camera at a view people going and fetch water. Back in the day, we've seen this in some of those infomercials that I don't like. Oh, come to help these people, save these people. That could be the narration of someone that we may have seen back in the Western media. But I can come in and say, ooh, look, we are drinking natural water. It's spring water. This is beautiful, right? It's very healthy for you. You see? Narration, my friend.
Yeah. Sure. So looking ahead, what does the future of travel in East Africa look like to you? And how can young entrepreneurs be part of shaping that future? What opportunities in the travel sector are currently being overlooked?
Yeah, I mean, East Africa, those regions, I would say it's untapped. It's untapped. And the opportunities is there. I was looking at the numbers, I think, in Kenya, where they have huge unemployment. And that's true for many places in East Africa. In our youth, travel can solve that. Combine travel, digitization, social media. I mean, Tourifique, that's what we are doing by building the travelpreneur class, which are travel content creators making money from showing us destinations too, and everything. And so that, I believe, can solve unemployment on a bigger scale, only if we get into it. So it is untapped. Each of those, there are some bigger countries on the continent, in the East Africa region. Kenya is huge, right? Kenya is not just Nairobi or in Mombasa or you name it, right? There's many regions that we have not seen that each are rich, because Kenya is really rich. If you look at the flora, if you look at their culture, because they have many tribes. It's not just the Maasai, by the way, that they have in Kenya. Okay, there are others. It's not just that, right? And similar for Tanzania, right? And so just imagine if a youth in each of those places can grab a phone and showcase an activity that we can translate into a tour that can be visited by the global African diaspora. Don't wait for the Muzungu to go and do it. That's white people. Then there you go, right? Because we know, as we read, the black dollar does not circulate for long in our communities. And so we just solved it, right? Jobs are created, tours are done, digitization is the platform, maybe on Tourifique, and everybody's happy. And we don't have to spend all these billions of dollars. We can actually solve unemployment by ourselves. We don't have to wait for, Trump just closed. I don't want to get political, but all that foreign aid. So there you go. And now we're here crying, but we have we have money, but let's just rethink how we reinvest and how we travel. I like to say that travel feeds the world, tourism feeds the world. I mean, look at FIFA right now. Everybody's going gaga about it because they know it's going to bring travelers to Vancouver, where I'm from, or New York or Toronto.
What skills should young entrepreneurs focus on developing today?
What skills?
What skills should young entrepreneurs focus on developing today?
It's when you look at least my case, I'm some biased, but let's get on digital creation, the content creation. The creator economy is massive. And it has created billionaires, by the way, Mr. Beast and everyone else. ISO Speed came to Africa, we saw. Because when you talk about content creation, it's not just pointing a camera and shoot. There's other things involved in it. You're running a business, you're creating content, but they're taking us here. So that's one of the skills. And the other one is AI, right? But we have to move on being users, but actually building the technology. So AI is definitely one that, I mean, it's has become a buzzword in some places, like generative AI. What does it mean? But we need to catch up. There's no other way. AI reminds me that what we are seeing going into AI. It reminds me when I was 7 or 8 years old, and my father came. He was so excited. He's like, "Son," I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" He was so happy. He's like, "I just bought a machine. It was a computer back then." And he's like, "This is gonna change how I work now. The work I used to do in like months, I can do it in a week." Can you imagine? So that's how I see AI right now. So he had to adapt quickly, because back in the day, before we had computers, everything was done mostly manual, right? Now we have AI where used in the right way, and yes, combined with digital creation, because there's some content creator that anything from scripting to designing their content to actually filming and editing, everything is done with AI. Then you don't have to spend hours. You can do it in a matter of maybe 20 minutes or so. And then you have your content and then off you go. And so that builds to everything I've said. Like, we need to pump our own content into AI because it is here and it's only going to get much more complex if we don't get into it now.
Great. You got recently invited by the Founders Games, and it's filming currently in Albania. I must say congratulations for that. Could you give us a summary about what's happening right now at the Founders Games, and how has that changed, or how is that changing Tourifique?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. I must say, first of all, I'm proud because I am the first person of African descent to make into this program. And so the Founder Games, think of it as Survivor show meets business on accelerator, right? We are still in there as 20 startups selected out of hundreds. So this is in the second season. So this was primarily built to support startup in Europe, in Eastern Europe. And I think as they rethink, maybe timing was right, but I believe I've done a great job as well. I applied, I got in there. And so what it means for Tourifique especially is that because we are building a platform to discover and book things to do with short form reels, now we get to actually participate in a reality TV show. It cannot be any better. It also is a great opportunity for me to be in Europe, because for many years since I was building Tourifique, I didn't see an entry into the European market or reach into the European travelers. And now I am here. So yeah, I mean, we, as you said, yeah, filming in Albania, that's part one. By this part two, I would highly encourage anyone watching this show to tune in. It's going to be aired in multiple countries in Europe, but also, I believe, on this proprietary platform. I think it's called Player Plus, but more information to come. And to be inspired, not just Tourifique is there, but there are other founders who are in there. And if you are watching, why not? Maybe you can be in season 3. I'll be more than happy to mentor you, because there's so much things that they know how to participate in a reality TV show. Because the competition, I'm telling you, it's tough. It's tough, but stay tuned.
Great. So to wrap this up, if someone is listening to this conversation, has never considered East Africa as a travel destination, what's the one experience or reason that would convince them to book a trip tomorrow?
There are many, but one reason is food. Go for food. Is there anything else? We love food. I love food. Whenever there's good food, I'm all for it. Go to Kenya, have some nyama choma. Go to Rwanda, eat some sombe, or go to Uganda, go for food. And the people, amazing. But food.
I'm happy you said food, and I'm a lover of food as well. And you have it in all natural forms back in Africa. So anyways, Charles, if you and me die today, what is that thing that you'll be leaving the world with?
Well, I hope it's not going to be today, because I still have a lot to do. But I think everything I've said to do is, since our journey is to inspire. And in my daughter's word, big shout out to my kids, by the way, that I love dearly. I've been very, very supportive. My kids, is that she said, I'm not just saying this because you are my father, but you have inspired me to go after my dreams no matter what, to work hard for it and not to be afraid. This was my daughter who said it. And that's it. That's all I will be remembered. I hope to be remembered for when I'm no longer here. But hey, I'm still here for now.
Sure, definitely. I just want to say thank you so much for honoring this interview. It has been a great one, and we wish everyone, your team, yourself, in the Founders Game, a successful venture, and have a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on your show, and all the best. May this show grow to reach millions and millions of us all over the world.
Actually, this is the point where you say to our viewers that they should follow, watch, and subscribe to Vicsmanor, where travel stories are being told.
All right. Watch, subscribe, and follow Vicsmanor, where travel stories are being told.
Thank you.